Hi everyone, and thank you for joining us. My name is Peter Edgar. I'm the editor-in-chief of The Southern, the student newspaper here at Florida Southern, and I'm joined today by Student Government Association President Natalie Barton. Barton, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you, Peter. I'm so honored to be here.
Well, Natalie, I think there's so many things that are exciting about this new year. I know that you're excited, Dr. Kerr is excited, the other members of SGA are excited, and I was wondering if you could just tell me a little bit about the elections that are coming up, the stuff that's going on with that. We're really excited to hear about it.
Yeah, so we're so excited that our annual fall elections are actually going to launch this Friday, September 7th, and the polls will be open until Monday evening, the 10th at midnight. So we're kind of doing a 4-day poll, which we haven't done in the past, and we're really excited to see if that kind of helps get us a little bit more of voter turnout. For the executive officers that were elected in April, we had record-breaking numbers in terms of people voting in those elections, and we had about 760 people vote. So we're hoping that that same momentum kind of continues in the fall, and that students will be receptive and will be logging in to engage, voting for their senators which are representing them in SGA, and kind of seeing how their voice works in the organization.
And now, you had a platform that you ran on when you were running for president this year. I was wondering if you could just review that a little bit and then tell me what sort of things you're going to be focusing on as president this year at SGA.
Yeah, I think my kind of biggest overall goal, I would say, is really kind of tackling communication in SGA. A lot of SGA presidents in the past have tackled kind of more of an external side of things, maybe a particular initiative that they saw a need for, or a space on campus that they wanted to build, or something more tangible. I'm kind of flipping the narrative and doing something very internal and just looking at how are we kind of working with the transparency from SGA to students, from administration to students, and then how as student government itself as a body communicating within ourselves. So I kind of feel like I've already began to make strides in that area. We really created a solid transition plan for our outgoing executive board to kind of bring in the new executive officers, which we've never really done, by creating a handbook for each officer. And then the senators will get essentially the same thing for their exact positions. So whether it's just like a minor deal of something internal, or communicating out things to the student body that administration is kind of using us through, I feel like that is kind of my big goal for the year.
Okay, so taking the experience that you've had last year, you were executive vice president, coming into the president's role, what are some of the things that you've seen and that you hope to provide for your current executive vice president? Yeah,
I think what's kind of nice is because I was in the role of vice president last year, I worked so closely with the student organizations on campus. And I said this in the position, and I still say this today, I really believe that student organizations are the heart of Florida Southern. Everybody talks about how involved our campus is. And whether it's like a fun club that you just want to join, or like a professional program, you know what I mean? Like, student organizations are where those connections are made and where those kind of like lifelong friends happen. So I really do want to kind of keep that emphasis on student organizations and making sure that students get involved. And I think I'm kind of carrying that mindset over into my presidency and not really forgetting about that Florida Southern student. You know what I mean? I think it's easy when you get up into these high positions of leadership to kind of take a different perspective. And I'm trying to kind of like remind myself and humble myself, like kind of keep that involved student in mind when I'm making decisions.
So one of the things that the SGA exec board started out very recently with, very early in the year, was the state of campus, in which the SGA exec members met with the school administration. I know you can't tell us all of the details, but I was wondering if you could get into that a little bit.
Yeah, so SGA is really famous for its event town hall, which is well attended by students and has probably been a standing tradition on this college for at least the past 10 years, if not more. But there are a few disadvantages with town hall. One is that it's an open meeting. We actually even broadcast it on the SGA Facebook page, so that literally anyone can kind of tune in, if you will, and listen to the meeting. And then the other kind of thing is, because it's an open meeting and students show up, write down their question, and then it's asked to administration, we don't know what questions are going to come down the line until a student asks them. And we kind of identified those two areas as areas of weakness for town hall. So I kind of had this vision to come up with an idea of an event that would kind of solve those two problems. And that's how kind of State of Campus came to be. So kind of the design of the meeting is that it is a closed meeting between just the SGA exec board and all of the administration. And because it is closed, we can talk, we can actually discuss these issues versus just posing questions and getting an answer back. And because it is a closed meeting, we know who's going to be attending. I was actually able to send administration an agenda beforehand. They kind of knew what was coming down the pipeline to them, so that when they walked into that meeting, they felt prepared for what we were going to talk about. And for our first time ever, it's kind of crazy, like the SGA president meets with administration. I meet with different members of admin all the time, but the entire exec board as a unit has never met with the panel of administration. So I kind of prefaced my exec board, like, I don't know what this is going to be like, because we're kind of doing something we've never done before. And I think we were all really astounded by the success of the event. And they truly listened to our questions well, gave thoughtful answers, and then asked questions back to us. There definitely are some exciting things that are going to happen as a result of that meeting, and I think as future school policies come out and campus changes are going to be made, SGA is going to be used more of a filter for that information, which is really exciting because the students will be getting information from the students, and because we are students, we can kind of bounce back thoughts and questions and ideas to administration before campus changes occur. So I'm really excited about that, and we also kind of talked about some exciting things that are happening on campus. The School of Computer Science is about to do a groundbreaking where the former admissions office was. That's going to become the new building for that space, so that's really exciting. That's a project coming up. And then the school is really working to maximize their graduate programs at the moment, so that School of Doctorate for Physical Therapy, as well as some nursing graduate programs, are really kind of coming down the pipeline for the future of Florida Southern. Yeah.
Okay. How does the expansion of those graduate programs affect undergraduate students here at the college?
Yeah. So what's kind of cool about that is we don't want students to have this idea that like the attention is being focused away from undergraduate students, but rather this idea, we have been growing in numbers from the sense of undergraduate students within the past few years, and that's kind of coming to a kind of slowing down a little bit, but not for bad reasons, because we are kind of hitting our capacity and hitting the successful points that we need to make from an undergraduate institution. So if we've kind of, gotten to where our goal, if you will, be for undergraduate, then it's like, well, how can we grow in other ways? And graduate programs are those. What's really exciting is for undergraduate students, these new graduate areas are going to open up so that if students wanted to continue on, they could at Florida Southern, and we can become a little bit more competitive in that way. And we do live in a great community here in Lakeland where a lot of people are, working here with a bachelor's degree that may want to go back and develop their own education, so it'll bring in some new students to the campus.
Cool. How do you think that the influx of graduate students would change either the demographics or the atmosphere of a campus that's traditionally been undergraduate?
Right. What's kind of nice is some of the graduate programs will stay on campus proper, if you will, and some will be on off-site locations. So like the physical therapy school is actually in a site off of Florida Avenue. So that's kind of nice. It kind of is their own space over there. But other programs like our MBA program are hosted right here on campus. What is nice about a lot of the graduate programs is the classes are either offered at night or on weekends like Saturdays. That's kind of what the MBA program is known for. So it is nice. It's kind of cool that students will get to interact with maybe older students in that sense of these graduate, but it's not going to be like there's going to be graduate students at the same time that undergraduate classes are going on.
So some students may be concerned that we're giving new buildings to smaller departments as opposed to bringing new technology and newer buildings to larger departments like the science department and stuff like that. How would you respond, or how do you think the administration would respond?
Yeah, I think the administration has definitely recognized that need, especially for our current science conditions in the public science building. You know what I mean? That need has definitely been addressed with administration, and that's kind of the next on the docket, if you will, after these campus expansion plans. And that is what's nice is administration has such a big picture thought that they are already planning 5 years down the road and 10 years down the road to make these kind of improvements and really address the students in that way. So I think that students will see that the attention is still kind of focused on them, and that Florida Southern truly does care that their academic program feels supported. But it'll also allow for some really great new faculty to join the team that are going to be involved in these graduate programs and could partner with the undergraduate students, you know what I mean? So I think it really will be a benefit for us.
Okay, great. So I want to pivot maybe away from the expansion that's happening right now. You talked about caring about your students through working with new buildings and things like that. How do you care for your executive board?
I'm very blessed by the executive board that I serve on. Honestly, if I could pick a dream team, it really would be every member. So I'm very excited about that, and I feel like even though it is August and kind of our terms are just now kicking in, because we were elected back in April, we've had that kind of summer to bond with each other. We do an annual SGA training in the fall and August where we actually go to an offsite location and spend 4 days and really do like leadership development and goal setting and stuff like that. So I'm really excited to work with them. What is kind of nice about the role of president is I don't have too many day-to-day operations. I kind of communicate with administration and bring ideas up, but truly in its heart, I'm just there to support the executive board, and I love that. I love that I kind of get to do a little bit with everybody and support them in their individual roles.
Very cool. How often does the SGA Executive Board meet, and then how often is that in comparison to things like President's Circle and the Senate meetings that are going to be happening soon?
What's nice is SGA Executive Board, every member has their own set of office hours. So if students wanted to meet with one of us, and they're publicized in the Rogers second floor, so it is open to any students, and we encourage people to come and talk to us and really to interact with any executive board member and kind of keep that level of transparency and communication like I talked about earlier. And then as an exec board, we meet on a weekly basis. Thursday night is kind of the SGA night. That's when President's Circle happens. That's when our Senate meetings happen. And then on those off weeks when we don't have an event like President's Circle or Senate, the executive board is kind of meeting as a unit. And what's nice is all of those meetings are actually open to the public, even our individual executive board meetings. So if students wanted to, Thursday nights at 6 p.m., you can find us somewhere on campus, whether it's in the Hollis room, where that's where Senate and President's Circle meets, or if it's just an off week, the executive board meets in the Rogers upstairs conference room. And we definitely encourage students to take advantage of that openness. We would love to hear your ideas and maybe a concern that you have and kind of work with you.
What do you think are some of the student concerns that have arisen in the past few months or the past year that you want to deal with?
Yeah. I think the big area, and this is something that has kind of been coming to the limelight in the past few years, is communication issues. Okay. I think, we could do some really cool things on campus. They could bring a Chick-fil-A to campus and people would probably be so excited. But I think when campus policy changes happen and students aren't communicated effectively about it, I think that kind of puts a little bit of a bad taste in students' mouth about administration. And I think really that's what SGA is trying to tackle this year, is to really kind of allow the administration to see that and to kind of work together from that sense. So I'm excited that we're kind of working together on that front, and I think, even over the summer we had this issue with the parking pass system changing for apartment students, and, SGA is working with the Office of Safety and Security. Right now, shuttle buses are doubled up at every stop, for these kind of few weeks while classes are start. So definitely administration is recognizing, even when maybe a misstep happens, like how can we make to perfect that a little bit.
Great. I was wondering if you would just be able to go over, I know that we have a few different, the senators have a few different kind of bodies that they inhabit. They do meet with their individual constituents and that sort of thing, but they also participate as part of a group. Can you go over some of those and just kind of the things that they focus on throughout the semester?
Yeah. So SGA, just like any other system of government, is kind of a three-tier system, if you will. Our judicial body is the Student Accountability Board, our executive body is the Executive Board, and then our legislative body is the Senate and the President's Circle. So we function just like the United States government, which is kind of cool. So we're able to kind of keep everybody in check. In terms of the Senate, our individual senators are broken down into 5 different committees, which every senator is required to sit on a standing committee. And then if an issue were to rise in the campus that we feel like we need to make a temporary committee for, we can do that as well and have senators sit on that. And then also part of our legislative body is our President's Circle. That's where every student organization has a president represented, and students that are senators meet with those presidents during our Senate and President's Circle combined meetings, just to make sure that the student organizations are feeling like their issues are addressed. But in terms of those committees, kind of the areas of campus that we're tackling at the moment, we have an initiatives campus that just looks at tangible initiatives, whether it's putting in a water refill station by the bus stop, that was a recent one, or putting a parking bench where a shuttle stop is, that was another one we just did. We also have the Student Life Committee, which kind of does along the same lines of initiatives, but intangible things. So like working with the Office of Community Living, working with safety, guest services. We actually have a food committee as a part of that, where actually any student can sit on our food committee, and we sit down with the director of the guest services and just give suggestions of maybe new menu items or extending the hours of Mock Mart, which we did last year. So that's student life, and then sustainability looks at kind of our environmental impact that our campus is making, and that's definitely been a big push on SGA the past few years, is addressing that need on campus and whatever that kind of looks like. We also have the Spirit Committee, which is kind of the fun committee, and that committee serves to just, show that mock pride that we have for our school, as well as, really helping students come to different athletic events and kind of support our athletes in that way. And then the last committee is our service committee. And that committee just works on civic engagement, essentially, and hosts kind of a big annual volunteer and kind of service opportunity for the students. And they also partner with MLK Day of Impact, which we have in the spring, and that kind of allows students to give back to their local community.
Right, all right. What's on the list for you? What's next?
Oh, man. What is next? That's good. Well, we just came off a really big one because tutus became 24/5 when students moved back into campus. So originally the hours of tutus Monday to Friday it closed at 3 a.m. and then opened it up at 7 a.m. So we just decided to kind of bridge that gap, and we are college students. Everybody pulls an all-nighter every now and then, and it is kind of frustrating when you don't maybe have a great space that allows you to kind of do that. And because tutus is a food service location, students can get Starbucks at 4 a.m. if they wanted to, and there's also printers and computers in tutus, so it's kind of a one-stop shop if you want to pull that all-nighter. So expanding those hours was definitely a huge win. The next kind of thing for SGA, I would say, is our academic fair, which we're hosting on October 10th. It's the same day that students will go to group advising during that convocation hour. You may be familiar with a lot of admissions events where they allow students that are prospective to come and sit on a workshop for a different major or academic department. Right. This event is essentially tailored to that, but for current students. So like educating current students on what minors are available, what pre-professional tracks you can be on. And then while that's kind of going on, there will be breakout sessions with Student Solutions, the Career Center, and then Bill Langston will do one on Passport. So it's just really exciting to kind of see that initiative come forward and just really getting students educated.
Speaking of the Passport program, that's something that has been kind of controversial since its first initiation when I was a freshman, and then now as a senior. What sort of things do you still see? Is there anything that you feel could still be improved, or do you think that it's gotten to a point?
I think they have kind of perfected the system. We did have some changes this summer. So now it's that there are 6 required events every year, 1 in each category, and then 1 of the convocations. And what's kind of nice is they did shift the program this summer so that if students are completing lots of events and coming to lots of the categories, they can actually be entered into these raffles to win cool prizes like an iPad or like a Alexa from Amazon, different devices like that students are really receptive to. So I think kind of shifting that of we're not punishing students if they don't go to events, more of we're going to incentivize you to go to more campus events. I think that kind of smoothed out some of those rough edges. So honestly, in the next upcoming years, I kind of see the program staying the same. Okay. I think last year on campus we had 400 and some Passport events offered to students. So definitely the opportunities are there. It's just getting students to attend the events.
Okay. Is there anything that you want to plug for students going forward?
I think something that, if I can stand on a little soapbox for a minute, SGA a lot of times is seen as a vehicle that students can complain through, that's typically where we kind of come into play, is that there's an issue on campus and SGA is going to be there to solve it. And that definitely is true of us, where we are able to bring these suggestions forward to administration, and we do appreciate when students let us know about, issues on campus, but just kind of reminding students that also let us know and, appreciate the good points of Florida Southern. I think we can get sometimes caught up in the frustrations of finding a parking spot or maybe a offering of a food at Winnie's Bistro, but reminding ourselves that we really are truly privileged to go to an institution like this and be receiving these higher educational degrees that so many people in the world aren't even, don't even have the chance to be able to pursue, and that, Florida Southern really stands out in the areas of intramurals and even academic achievement. We just had 4 Fulbright scholars, selected this past year. So we really, even for such a small school, are really making a name for ourselves. And so just kind of reminding students to just be conscious of that, and that, as much as there can be easy times to complain about something, you can also be grateful for what you have.
Cool. Another question that I had as executive president of student government, what kind of interaction does your organization have with the QEP that's been started recently as part of the accreditation program and the quality enhancement program that the school's going through right now?
Yeah, so last year when that proposal was kind of being put together, SGA kind of became a platform for the QEP, and Dr. Sarah Harding, who's kind of the main professor working with that QEP, presented about it to both our President's Circle and our Senate. So it was kind of cool. We were one of the first ones to really, as a student, to get that kind of information given to us, and students were really excited, especially in the areas of undergraduate research. I think it's really going to do a lot when it comes to interdepartmental connections, and I think that all goes back to communication. There's so many cool things going on in our different departments, whether it's the psychology department or the communications department, and so kind of bridging that gap and seeing how can we work kind of as a team. I think the whole area of interdisciplinary and especially of undergrad research are becoming huge in the workforce right now, so we're definitely becoming a competitive institution in that way, and so we're really excited to back the QEP this year and really educating now our incoming students, our freshman students, about this new plan that we have on campus and how they can get involved.
What's been the biggest thing, you're a senior now, what's been the biggest thing that you've seen change over the 4 years that you've spent here at Florida Southern, from your freshman year to now?
Wow.
Maybe not just the buildings that have been built, but something that may have changed in the culture of Florida Southern, or things that you've seen change in terms of how SGA runs, anything like that.
Yeah, I think one thing that we're working on to change, and I think I have begun to see it within just SGA, is I think SGA can kind of be seen as this intimidating organization, they're the ones that talk to Dr. Kerr and stuff like that, and we really want to just be seen as this approachable group of students. I mean, we are students too, and we are students first, so we want students to be able to ask us a question and, see us at these big events. I think the whole kind of intimidating factor can also be seen in a lot of our student organizations. I remember I was even scared to join organizations as a freshman because it just seemed like, I don't know, the cool students, were involved with everything, and it didn't almost seem manageable from a freshman stance. But, developing these opportunities like Relaunch, which gives, students another event to join student orgs, or even separating our Greek organizations into their own event, just kind of allows that kind of approachability sense of telling students truly anyone can join and get involved at Florida Southern. We have a place for you.
Cool. All right, well, thank you so much for being here. That's all the time we have for today. Thank you so much for watching, and hope to tune in another time in the future.
Thank you.